New York City, the city that never sleeps. Or does it? The bright lights, the endless crowds, the never-ending hustle and bustle. But lately, something strange has been happening. The streets of NYC are growing emptier. The crowds that used to give life to the city are fading. What's going on? Why New York is emptying out day by day, discovering some shocking reasons behind this growing trend. Before you move on, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to 10-Minute Quest. After 1950, New York City was made into a city of dreams. Besides people of the USA, many other countries have also entered New York City. Real estate booms invited businesses and rich residents to the city, while the low-income community was removed due to gentrification. In spite of all this, New York City has now grown as an international powerhouse, a home for major financial institutions and international corporations, and a cultural epicenter. It faces challenges like income inequality and high housing costs, but it does emerge as a sign of resilience and growth. But the huge change is occurring in the last 10 years. Since 2020, there has been a sudden fall in population numbers in New York City. In March 2020, as the virus spread rapidly, New York declared a state of emergency. The COVID-19 pandemic has left an indelible mark on the city of New York, having changed its very characteristic features. Next came the lockdowns, which resulted in the shutting of businesses, schools, and public areas. The streets went from teeming with life to being quiet as a ghost town. For most of the residents, it felt also unreal for the first weeks. Seeing no people in Times Square and Central Park was just sad. The jarring contrast of what had been and what now was, people-free subway cars, sidewalks, shuttered stores, had been recorded by the photography of the time, seemingly an instantly changed city. According to statistics-based website World Meter, more than 83,000 people in New York lost their lives to COVID as of April 2024. The city that never sleeps has been put to sleep. The COVID-19 pandemic upended everything in the way of how we work, and is still being felt today. Where once the streets of New York were filled with commuting workers, the subways full of people, and packed offices, the need to physically be in the city is lessening now that companies are embracing remote work more and more. It is not necessary for people to go to the office every day, as people work from home, coffee shops, or co-working spaces outside of the city. This massive shift has meant that far fewer people need to live in New York at all, especially as remote work is often paired with freedom to live anywhere. But that is not all. Another reason New York is emptying out is this. There was a huge exodus from the city in the last few years. More people chose to leave for quieter and less expensive places in recent times. That number of residents fell some 631,000 between 2020 and 2024. That is huge. A major reason that so many are leaving New York is its high cost of living and high income taxes. From rents through the roof to expensive everyday living expenses, it is really no surprise that people are migrating elsewhere in search of affordability, especially with working from anywhere, an option for many. According to statistics from the website Tax Foundation, the income tax rate in New York State is as high as 4% to 10.9%, while states such as Florida and Texas do not levy state income tax. Besides this, property taxes also remain so high that many can't bear, and hence the low tax rate among the people. It is a rising trend to relocate to states such as Florida and Tennessee. According to the Florida Chamber of Commerce, over the last 10 years, the number of people moving from Florida to other areas has been very low, averaging about 1.5%. Rather, people moving to Florida from other areas is increasing day by day, averaging 37% each year. Florida's growing population accounts for the leading reason people are leaving New York, but it is certainly not the only one. New York City recorded an average rent for a mid-sized apartment upward of $3,500, while elsewhere in the state, the same amenities could be found for upwards of $1,500 to $2,000 on average, according to the Cost of Living database number. 4 persons in New York have no house to rent. The estimated monthly expenses of family of 6 members are $6,274. After all this expense, there is no need to pay $3,500 for rent. As New Yorkers understand, middle and lower classes are finding increasingly hard to live here. It is becoming impossible. Also, safety concerns also contribute to New York's emptiness. Crimes have increased in the last couple of years in certain areas, and while the city is generally safe compared with many other big cities, there is little doubt that fear of crime now informs decisions on whether to stay or go. New York residents said, "It's just not the same anymore. I've noticed more incidents on the subway, and it makes me nervous to go out after dark." With safety being a top priority for many, some have decided that New York's charm no longer outweighs the risk. The uptick in crime has measurably raised fears among both the residents and the tourists, and this has contributed to a decline in foot traffic, especially in those highly vulnerable areas of the city. Probably the most indicative signal of New York's decline in reputation has to do with the lack of tourists. For a long period, New York City had been one of the most favorite tourist destinations, attracting millions of people all over the world every year. However, this number took a drastic dip after the pandemic. Tourism was an integral part of New York's economy, but with international travel restrictions and remaining fears of the virus, fewer people are visiting the city. It has trickled down to restaurants and hotels, as well as to Broadway shows and museums. Fewer tourists mean fewer people on the streets, and that contributes to the city's growing emptiness. The emptiness of New York City is both a symptom of decline and a reflection of profound changes, some temporary, others permanent. From the ongoing pandemic to the shift in work culture and urban planning challenges, this transformation has many contributing factors. It is time to face up to this new reality together, recognizing above all that New York City is resilient. It may be quieter now than before, but as it adapts and evolves, it holds the potential for renewal, a chance to redefine what it means to be the city that never sleeps. Share your thoughts on how you see New York changing day by day